My name is Christian Cuccinello, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber. Sidearm whip, scores!
Now it's one, Fidel scores! Hands off for Rabel, switches hands and scores!
Carly O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Right off the bat, there's Lyle Thompson. 3 seconds on the shot clock for Cuccinello, one-handed wrapper scores!
Welcome to Pro Lacrosse Talk, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam. Together we're bringing you interviews with your favorite players and coaches, as well as news from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. We're here with Christian Cuccinello, attackman with the Waterdogs Lacrosse Club in the PLL, and former Villanova Wildcat. Christian, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me on. Really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you coming on, and hope you're staying safe, during this coronavirus pandemic. But it gives us a little bit more time to interview athletes like yourself. But we want to start off a little bit at the beginning of your lacrosse career. You grew up in Mountain Lakes, New Jersey, where you were 2014 New Jersey Player of the Year. Tell me when you first started playing lacrosse, though, and what drew you to the sport initially?
Growing up in Mountain Lakes, lacrosse was huge in the community. It was a great opportunity to bring everyone together, and you kind of grew up with a stick in your hands. So I've been playing for as long as I can remember. It was a way to meet friends and bond as a unit with a bunch of people in the community and within your grade. And it kind of just love for the game just kind of grew from there, and had the opportunity to watch some great players come through who went on to play collegiately and professionally, and just wanted to follow in their footsteps.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then after moving to from New Jersey, you headed down to the Philly area and ended up playing your college ball at Villanova, where you were an All-American and finished your career tied for 5th all-time in career points with 168. What really influenced your decision to head to Nova?
So my mother and my uncle were both Villanova grads, okay. So I grew up Wildcat in my blood, and I was a big Villanova basketball fan, and as a family we would always go down for a game or two during the basketball season, and a lacrosse game if we can get out, schedule permitting. So when Villanova presented me the opportunity, there was a lot of other schools that I had liked and were strongly considering, but with the ties that I had there and the familiarity I had with the school, and the distance only being two hours or so away from home, which is a pretty ideal distance to get out a little bit, but also have the proximity to my family to come watch me play. And then obviously the staff, it was pretty much a no-brainer from there. It was an awesome opportunity that I'm grateful came knocking.
Since graduation, have you been to Finneran since it's been remodeled?
Yeah, I went to 2 games last year,
awesome.
And it's pretty incredible what they got going down there.
Yeah,
it's an awesome, intimate atmosphere in the Finneran Pavilion. It's small, but it's obviously brand new, state of the art, and it just makes for a great game day.
Yeah, I'm from Delco originally, and I have a bunch of buddies still in the Radnor area, and they have season tickets. So I go to a couple games a year with them. It's awesome.
It's awesome. We got to link up at one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then that kind of took you. You kind of were put on the pro radar when you got drafted to the Atlanta Blaze in 2018. You were a Rookie of the Year candidate in your first season as a pro. How were you able to kind of take your game to the next level going from Villanova to the pros? Was there a big jump, or was it kind of natural progression?
There was definitely a big jump in terms of the playing style, which took some adjusting for me personally based off of the style that we were playing at school. Obviously, the ball was in my stick a lot my senior year. As kind of the quarterback of the offense, primary ball carrier, and then playing with Kevin Rice, who was taking on that role with the Blaze. So I had to kind of work a little bit more off ball, get used to how I can fit into the offense, which resulted in me coming out of the box, which was also relatively new to me. But, I was really grateful to have guys like Kevin, Adam Gittleman, Scott Ratliff, Matt Gibson, Tommy Palasek, who obviously helped me on the field to be successful, but more importantly, just kind of showed me the ropes of pro lacrosse. And, those guys were, big brothers to me, still are to this day. And, you kind of see it. There's so many talented guys who come out of school and, they only get one or so opportunities to kind of make it happen in the pro game. And sometimes they fizzle out and sometimes they knock it out the park. And I feel very grateful to have encountered all those guys to show me the ropes and help my transition to become somewhat seamless, which has enabled me to continue playing along and not be, one of those guys who didn't get to pursue their dream of continuing playing. So credit allotted to those guys. And, we had a great staff and a really cohesive unit down there in Atlanta. I think we probably set the record for number of flight changes after games with just guys who just wanted to stick around and hang out with each other. So it was a pretty awesome experience and kind of put me on a trajectory to be able to continue playing and understand what it takes to be successful.
That's great. And, you followed some of those aforementioned teammates to the PLL last season with the Archers, got to play with them again. And you came up really big for them down the stretch, 17 points in the last 11 games of the season. How do you think your game progressed last season, and what was it like in year one of the PLL?
Year one of the PLL was incredible. The operations and, the player experience was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. In terms of my progression with the Archers, just it took some time to kind of find out where I can plug in. Again, there were some familiar faces, but a lot of guys were new to me, were new to everybody. And, there was different opportunities out there the way that the season kind of went along, and, we needed some more dodging pop, and that's what I consider to be a strong suit. Coach plugged me in and just tried to contribute in any way possible. So, again, it was really just a lot about finding exactly where my skill set aligns with what we had going on there. But, it did take some time, but I'm happy I got the opportunity, and, I'll obviously miss those guys. Those dudes were awesome, and having played with some of those guys for 2 years, it was tough to say goodbye, but I'm obviously extremely excited for the opportunity with the new squad and can't wait to get rolling.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned, being on the Waterdogs. Were you surprised that you went unprotected? And after going unprotected, were you anticipating that you would be drafted by the Waterdogs?
Well, I wasn't necessarily totally surprised. I knew I was probably right in between the, 10 to 12 range that we had going. And, someone was going to get their feelings hurt on our team, and we were going to lose a couple guys who had previously contributed in a pretty large way, whether it was me or someone else in another position. So it really just depended on what coach prioritized and what he thinks was available. There's so many different variables that go into the decision. So, you're not going to get too many headliners out of me in terms of, my frustration with it. I understood. I think Pro Lacrosse, I learned this as I started to learn more of it this summer, is a war of attrition, as per a teammate of mine, Davey Emla, says. And the guys who can stay neutral and the guys who can continue to find positives out of every situation are going to be the ones that last the longest, and the guys who get, pretty worked up, sometimes that could get in the way of their performance. So I had a feeling I would be a pretty decent candidate for the Waterdogs. But again, a lot of it was I had no idea what Coach Copeland was planning to build and what he wanted to build. And when he found out he saw me in that vision for his first squad and what he was looking to build, I was really excited about it. Obviously, you want to be wanted, no matter what the situation is. And here, Coach Copeland wanted me on his squad and thought I could contribute in any way possible. It was a good feeling. And again, tough to say goodbye to a lot of those guys that I created relationships with and showed me the ropes. But, it's a pretty awesome opportunity to be a part of an expansion team in year one. Awesome logo and color scheme, great coaching staff, great leadership, great mix of guys in terms of personalities that we've seen already. So should be a blast.
For sure. And I like your mentality going into it because there's so many different factors, whether, some coaches I'm sure left players unprotected, with the hope that they would, maybe come back on the team. And again, it's just, a lot of different factors. So I think you have the right mentality and, we're excited to watch you on the Waterdogs in 2020.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And one player I fully expect you to be really eager to play with is fellow Wildcat alum Brian Karalunas. Talk about your excitement to get on the field with him.
Oh, yeah. BK is he's a legend in every sense of the word. He's a quiet guy. He goes out of business nice and quiet. He's like a silent assassin, but when you look at what he's done over the course of his career, it's pretty superb. He's just consistently been one of the best. He's in between the lines. He wreaks havoc, but more importantly, he's when you go to Villanova and you decide to, be a part of that family, Brian Karalunas is always one of the names that sticks out. He really kind of embodies a lot of the core values that we're trying to mold into our players and people. And so I've been following him ever since I was young and going through the process, and then following his pro career and some of this USA stuff he's been involved in. So to have the opportunity to play with him is going to be pretty awesome. Going to try to be a sponge and absorb as much as I can, as well as try to stay away from him in training camp and in practice, because I don't want to look dumb out there by going up against him.
I feel you on that one. Anyone else particular on the Waterdogs you're really excited to play alongside with?
There's a ton. Kieran McCardle, a Big East fellow Big East guy. He's a Johnny. But I remember him, and they had a guy, I think his name was like Cernudo or something, another attackman that he played alongside with. He was electric. Kieran at St. John's was single-handedly putting that team on the radar, both in conference and nationally. And he's, again, someone who's been around a long time and someone who understands the ins and outs of pro lacrosse. So on the offensive end, someone I'm really looking forward to learning. And it's tough to hone in on a lot on anyone specifically outside of that. There's just a ton that I've had some previous connections with that are just great dudes, great personalities, and are just as eager as me to get going.
Awesome.
We're excited to see you guys all, come together. And, how have your initial conversations with Coach Copeland been? And what are you looking forward to most, from his vision?
Conversations with Coach Copeland have been great. He's a very straightforward guy, which I admire and appreciate right off the bat. Someone who's been clear in terms of what he's looking for as players and as teammates. Someone who's been making the extra effort already in these weeks leading up during these tough times to keep everyone together and keep our goals, at the top of our priority list. He's someone who I'm familiar with. He recruited me to Fairfield back when he was the head coach there, and Fairfield was my number 2 right behind Villanova, strongly considered going there. So to have a conversation with him down the line like we had here coming into the season after that was pretty ironic and pretty funny. But again, he's got a clear vision for what he's looking for, and he's doing a great job relaying that, doing a great job, showing that he's here for us to help keep us in line in terms of where we want to be. So it's going to be really, really awesome to play with him and to help carry out the vision that he has for this group.
That's great. And kind of speaking of coaching a little bit, you teach with First Class Lacrosse with Deemer class, as well as a little bit with the PLL Academy. Talk about your coaching career thus far, and how's it been kind of teaching that next generation of lacrosse players?
Yeah, so Deemer and I were teammates in Atlanta, and right before, give you some background on how this came to be. Deemer was doing this full time, and then he had the offer to take on the role as the assistant coach at USC Women's Lax, and he had a bunch of gigs that he had committed to prior to when he booked out his calendar prior to accepting the role. So he had a bunch, and I was transitioning into my full-time job. It had some time between the MLL season and my job, and he'd asked if what my interest in coaching was, and kind of felt me out a little bit in terms of how I am as a coach. And obviously I wanted to give back to the game in any way possible and stay involved, especially with a long off season in pro lacrosse. Any way you can keep the stick in your hands is one that you'll take on. So I helped him out with some of those gigs, and we just continued along, and I wanted to continue to grow as a coach and continue to help give back, and he offered me the opportunity to do so. Awesome. So we've been doing that ever since, and a lot of what I do is, primarily in like non-hotbed markets. I've been to Kansas City, went out to San Francisco, been to a bunch of different places that are not necessarily in the Northeast where I grew up. So to help see the game growing in those different places is pretty awesome. And Deemer is as committed as anybody you'll find out in lacrosse to help spread his knowledge and, help unite a community out there that's growing and, just as excited about the game as he is. So it's pretty great experience to be a part of. It's one that I'm grateful for. Helps me keep my stick in my hands, and more importantly, helps kind of spread the knowledge and love and passion for the game that I had up here in the Northeast to some of these non-hotbed markets.
For sure, and we, appreciate what, you guys are doing with First Class Lacrosse. I think it's, needed more than ever now, with a lot of, events canceled and people having to stay inside. The online resources that you guys have are tremendous, and it's grown so much. Even we interviewed Deemer last summer, and, it's night and day how much more they've added to that site and the resources you guys have since since we interviewed him last. So I think it's awesome, and I think it's, really needed right now in this time. So it's, I think what you guys are doing has been great.
Yeah, got to give credit to Matt McMahon, too. He's done a bunch of good work helping to build out that online platform alongside Deemer. So just want to make sure his name's accounted for as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. With that wraps up our main questions, though. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll go into our 5 and 5. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. Today I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Anchor. We've been using Anchor for the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast, and once it's published, they send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. They also connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast today, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code LACROSSE today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today. All right, so welcome back. Now it's time to do our 5 and 5 segment. So I'll start off with the lacrosse questions. Christian, the first one I'll ask is, what are some of your top songs on your game day or workout playlist?
Ooh, top songs on my game day or work. Oh, I don't have anything in particular. I usually just trust the team DJs. We had Marcus Holmes and Bill Manning last year, and they half the time I spend pregame shazamming the songs that they're playing. But every year I've been fortunate to have some really good ones, good DJs. So just trusting them. I don't have anything that's automatically on my list.
Awesome. And number 2, who's been your toughest matchup during your pro lacrosse career?
Another loaded question.
Yeah, that one's going to take some thought. Most recently, I'd probably say I'll go with Jared Newman in terms of like toughest to go against dodging wise. He's just like so long and so athletic. Even when you think you beat him and you have a step on him, he can find a way to recover and get himself in a good position. So in terms of dodging him, but there are definitely other guys that aren't necessarily coming to my name right now that are like overall end-to-end toughest matchups between like off-ball, like communication and as well as that one-on-one dodging. But in terms of going at someone, he's most recently been the toughest. But Tucker Durkin too, that guy is like a superhuman. Yeah, for sure. Number 3, who is your favorite lacrosse personality on social media right now? That's easy. Scotty Rogers. Has been and always will be. That guy is just instant content. He's a machine. Yeah, he brings the energy on whatever he's doing, whether he's, coaching or even if it's just like, doing like just a talking post or whatever, he's always pumped up. Number 4, where's your current lacrosse stick setup in terms of shaft, head, and stringing? I've been using the same setup. I have the Maverick Apollo shaft and the Maverick Tactic with String King. I go with the 2S soft mesh. That's been my setup for as long as I can remember. I flipped back and forth between like the Optic, but now I'm back to the Tactic, and I'm very lucky to have Maverick help me out with whatever I need. Those guys make the best equipment in the game, and it's not even up for debate. Awesome. And then number 5, what has been your favorite venue to play lacrosse at? Whether it's college, pros, even internationally. I know you played for Team Italy, I think, in the 2018 games. Yeah. Favorite venue? I would say Peter Barton at Denver.
Mm-hmm.
We played there my freshman year on a Friday night, and we got steamrolled. That was the year they won the national championship, but the atmosphere was electric. It's a small venue, so they always feels like it's packed out, it's loud. The students are really into it. They were tailgating the Friday night that we were there, and we had to drive our bus through it, and they were sending us some funny hand signals that I won't repeat. But it was cool. It's one that I know the PLL is hitting this summer, so to get back there is going to be pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up the lacrosse questions. Adam, you can take away the off-the-field questions?
Yeah, sounds good. Number one, what are some hobbies or activities you enjoy doing when you're not on the lacrosse field? I know that time's probably sparse, but...
I like playing Xbox. I'm a big Fortnite guy. I play with former teammate of mine, Joe Nardella. Him and I are pretty lethal duo, so if anyone wants to challenge us, DMs are always open. Probably won't work out well for you, but you put him and I on the sticks together, and we're a pretty big issue.
There we go. Number two, who's a non-lacrosse athlete that you think would excel if they switched up and put a stick in their hand?
Non-lacrosse athlete that would excel. I'm going to go with Cristiano Ronaldo because his finesse and his combination of the way he can change speeds. You can see when he speeds up for a through ball versus when he's going to kind of slow down and chop his feet a little bit to beat someone, and then the way he can get in and out of his breaks. You give him a little bit of time with the stick to get used to the stick work, and his change of speeds in terms of dodging someone would be pretty electric.
That's the first soccer player I think we've had suggested, but I think he's a prime candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you a big Juventus guy?
I am, yeah, I am.
Awesome. All right, number three, what are some of your favorite places to go when you're back in North Jersey?
Favorite places to go in North Jersey? So there's a deli in Denville, New Jersey, not far from where I grew up, called Sergio's. Has some of the best Italian meats. You get the number 7 with chicken cutlet, mozzarella, and roasted red pepper with prosciutto and balsamic. It's one of the best sandwiches. It's a must every time I'm back in the area.
That was always recommended to me, and I never got a chance to go.
That's a crime. And then I have a dog, and taking her to got a little park in the area called the Torrance County Park. So she likes to go through there and sniff about everything that goes on in those woods. So it's always fun to get her out and take her through that. But those are two that come to mind.
Awesome. And kind of going off the food-related question a little bit, you might have answered already, but what's your favorite meal, and do you prefer to dine out, take out, or cook at home?
Ooh, favorite meal? I'm going to go with my grandmother's chicken parm and meatballs. Can't decide between the two of them. She's the best cook I've ever experienced. I prefer to eat in with her. She lives not far from where I grew up with my family in Jersey, so and whenever I'm home, I'm immediately making a stop there, and she's cooking dinner, and hopefully the whole family can get out there as well. And then the holidays, she just absolutely goes off. So those are some highlights for me in terms of food.
Nice. And then the final non-lacrosse related question, kind of pertinent right now, especially with everybody quarantined inside, but what's a book or maybe even a podcast you've listened to recently that you'd recommend to a friend or teammate?
I'm a huge college basketball fan. So I listen to John Rothstein's podcast where he has I listen to there's two actually that I would recommend. One is Rothstein's podcast where he brings coaches and players in throughout the season. He only produces them every 2 weeks or so, but it's cool to hear the coach's perspective on what's going on externally in the middle of their season. And college basketball is so chaotic. There's so many good teams. They play so many games, and there's such good talent out there on the floor every single night in every conference. So to kind of hear how some of these coaches are handling and managing their teams in between the season. And then the second podcast, and then I'll get to a book, is the Lighthearted podcast. My guy Josh Hart, Villanova graduate, who started his podcasting with one of his high school buddies. He brings on a bunch of current NBA players. He brings on gamers. He brings on like agents, guys, CEOs of different companies, and he kind of like, similar to what Paul does with the Unbuckled podcast, he just like gets a glass of wine out. It's completely unfiltered. You hear some of the funniest stuff that you would have never expected from a lot of people that can put on a different front in terms of their like social and their celebrity lives that they're living. So that's a pretty good one. And then a book. I'm a big Nova homer. Everybody knows I love Villanova. So Attitude by Jay Wright tells the story of the 16 national championship team, and just how, right, something he preaches and something we tried to steal out of the basketball program's book when we were at Nova was just becoming like the best team that you can be throughout the season and focusing on just getting better and kind of hard to do, but blocking out the wins and losses and all the external items and the metrics that are, teams are defined by. But he tells the story about how that team wasn't necessarily always the most talented, but they had great leadership with Ryan Arcidiacono, Daniel Ochefu, and take you inside that season to when they kind of got over the monkey on their back and won the Natty. That's a pretty awesome book. It's one that I've actually read like 2 or 3 times, and I would recommend to people.
No, that's great. So that wraps up our 5 and 5. Those are some good recommendations. We'll definitely have to check those out. Adam and I are both pretty big readers. Adam's probably a bigger reader than I, but we definitely enjoy like those type of books where it's like, personal development, especially from a sports perspective. So those are definitely some good recommendations. With that, we have one final question, Christian. We like to ask all our guests is, what is some advice you have for a young player looking to play lacrosse professionally one day?
I think just be open-minded, and that's pretty generic, but a lot of times we find stuff that we really enjoy doing in the game, whether it's scoring goals or like causing turnovers, and but sometimes like the team and the environment that you're in doesn't necessarily need that type of support, or it doesn't always fit into what it is. And I've been a victim of like kind of being stubborn, getting in my feelings a little bit. I'm an emotional Italian guy, as a lot of people will tell you. But just like being open-minded, and you can find positives in no matter what it is, and be open to different roles and different opportunities that present itself. And when you're open-minded, you'll find that you become more diversified as a player and as a person. And obviously diversification is huge. If you want to play pro lacrosse, you got to be able to play. You got to be able to do more than just one thing. So I think if you're open-minded, it'll lead you to becoming more diverse as a player and having more in your repertoire than you initially had. And that's going to allow you to continue to play as long as you can go, as guys who can, play multiple positions, play all on the ball, off the ball, are the ones that stick around for a long time. And it all starts with, again, being open-minded and being willing and able to try different things.
No, I think that's some great advice for, our young listeners that are, aspiring to that one day. Well, Christian, this has been great. We really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you on social media?
Primarily on Instagram, Christian_Cuccinello 30. I do have a Twitter. I'll mostly just retweet a lot of going over basketball highlights and guys who are former Nova guys doing well in the NBA and or Villanova lacrosse stuff as well. So I'm not too active on Twitter, a lot of retweets, but Instagram, Christian_Cuccinello 30.
All right, sounds good. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Christian, and best of luck with the Waterdogs this season.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it, guys.
You just heard our interview with Christian Cuccinello. If you enjoyed this interview, please leave us a review on Apple, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you follow us on social media at Pro Lacrosse Talk, or visit our website, prolacrossetalk.com. Finally, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and we hope you tune in next time to Pro Lacrosse Talk. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code LACROSSE today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today.